everything is set. He's a here we go, just waiting for him to sign. And so good luck.
Now, it's already been a busy summer for one of Rafa's former clubs, Newcastle United, with plenty of transfer movement in and out of the club. Let's go live to Newcastle and speak to our reporter, Keith Downey. Keith, great to see you as always. Newcastle fans will want us to start with this, the future of their captain, Bruno Guimarães. What can you tell us?
Yeah, James, thanks very much. Welcome to the quayside here at Newcastle, where I have to say every Newcastle fan that I've walked past, that is the one question on their lips. What is happening with Bruno right now? And that is because the news broke just less than 48 hours ago that Bruno Guimarães has asked Newcastle about the possibility of leaving the club and exploring a move to Arsenal. Now, the thing that makes this confusing, I think perplexing for Newcastle United, is that they have had no direct contact from Arsenal at all regarding the availability of Bruno Guimarães. No contact, no bid, no nothing, but there has been contact made with Newcastle through intermediaries. So, of course, Bruno Guimarães has got a super agent working for him right now. My understanding, James, of the situation is that Bruno himself has spoken to the club and indicated that he would be keen to explore a potential move to Arsenal if it were there, but only on the grounds that suited Newcastle. And by that, I mean, if the offer came in and it was low, he would understand Newcastle turning it down. But if the offer was high and it was something that Newcastle felt was acceptable, then I think Bruno Guimarães, as I understand it, would be keen to speak to Arsenal and potentially move there. He's at a stage in his career. He's 28. He'll be 29 in a couple of months' time. He wants to win titles. He wants to win trophies. And he's probably looking at it and thinking that's not going to happen here at Newcastle, hence why he would be keen on that move to Arsenal. But as I say, there has to be contact and a concrete bid from Arsenal to Newcastle, and that has not materialised so far. This is what the fans think.
To be honest with you, I think you can understand his feelings. He wants to win something, but there's no reason why he can't stay, maybe win something with Newcastle. I hope he stays, but if he goes, well, there's nobody bigger than the club.
Legend of the club, but the season we've just had, almost like can't blame him for wanting to go. The club feels like it's in a little bit of a mess. We're starting to sign players, but I don't know, it's one of them. I want him to stay, obviously, but I can't blame him for what's going on.
It's not great. The uncertainty in what's going on, I would like him to stay. The media has given mixed signals, I think.
What do you mean?
Where the reports that he's leaving and he wants to leave, and then the reports that it's just his agent talking about that. Whereas I want him to come out and physically say what he wants to do, whether he wants to stay or whether it's really him that wants to go, and if it's just the agent talking. So, you know, he's a club captain. He should be staying around. The club should be putting their foot down and saying we want you to stay.
Well, I think Bruno's just going to do right by himself and his family. I mean, who wouldn't? Arsenal are going to come in and obviously they've got bigger wages and we're not ready to compete at that level yet. And as long as Newcastle invest wisely in the squad with the money, I haven't really got a problem with it, to be fair.
You know, he's a playmaker. He's very dynamic. And he loves the club, and I think it's more the fact that he loves the club. He's expressed his love for the club, and I think that's what's hurting me. But what annoys is if he does want to go, it's fair enough. But why sell him to a competition? Why not sell him overseas?
Keith, talk to us about the direction of the club this summer. Already we've seen a clear shift in the transfer policy, it seems.
Yeah, and just listen to those Newcastle fans there. You can tell that they sense that, they see that themselves. It's clear and it's obvious that I think gone are the days of Newcastle, certainly in this window, breaking their transfer record. We saw that last summer when Nick Woltemade arrived from Stuttgart for £69 million. Alexander Isak 2 years previously for £63 million. That's not the model for Newcastle, and I've been saying that for a few months now. That is not the plan for Newcastle. They're looking to try and do things a little bit differently, bring in players slightly cheaper. I mean, I say cheap, but sort of between 20 million and 40 million. I think they would push the boat out a bit more for a star name or someone they really wanted, but generally trying to keep within those parameters. And in terms of age, looking at sort of between the ages of 18 and 24, and you look at the players that they've signed already in this transfer window. Sean Stour arrived yesterday from Ajax in a £23 million move, aged 18, so he fits perfectly into that bracket. And Basu Toure just last weekend arriving for 40 million, so right at the top end of that bracket, but he's 21. So that's the way Newcastle are trying to do things, and it's almost what I'm told is they're trying to almost make it a little bit like Borussia Dortmund over in Germany, where they are buying young players with a high ceiling, hoping that they can improve under Eddie Howe on the training ground. That is where Eddie Howe is, of course, is at his best. But these players with a high ceiling to improve at Newcastle, potentially move on for a big fee, but just different waters that they're fishing in. Look, they've sold 3 big names in recent times in the shape of Isak, Anthony Gordon just a couple of months ago for 70 million, and of course Sandro Tonali to Tottenham for 100 million. So they have done well so far with the recruitment. Last window wasn't good, and they need to make up for that. That is why they're trying to do things differently. So it's not quite Brighton, but more like sort of Borussia Dortmund. That is what they're trying to do, and that's why we're seeing such a shift of the type of players Newcastle are going for. But they need to keep experience as well. They know that, and that is why they're very keen to hold on to Bruno Guimarães, and that is why they do not want to sell him to Arsenal. They're desperate to keep him. But of course, if a concrete offer comes in from Arsenal for Bruno Guimarães, and it's big money, I think the tipping point is probably around about £80 million, and Bruno wants to go, I think then Newcastle have got a decision to make.
Keith, in terms of players with a high ceiling, the arrival of Johan Manzambi would certainly excite supporters. Where are we at in terms of a potential move for him?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're stood here talking about exits from the club. We're talking about Bruno Guimarães potentially leaving. But look, there is a lot of good news. There's a lot of good work taking place at the club. The sporting director, Ross Wilson, took over just in October, and he's already brought 3 new faces in. And the club are working round the clock to bring in new faces. And the one they're in the middle of right now, you are right, it's Johan Manzambi, who, of course, is with Switzerland over at the World Cup right now. 5 goal involvements, 3 goals. He's been very, very good over there in the USA. And what I can tell you is that Newcastle have the framework of a deal in principle to sign the 20-year-old Swiss international. A delegation from the club travelled over to Germany earlier this week to meet with Freiburg, where of course he plays. They have reached a verbal agreement with Freiburg for his signature, £49 million. So you'll notice, James, that £49 million is above the 40 million parameters I mentioned earlier, but they are willing to go a bit above that if they feel it's the right player. And Manzambi is top of their wish list this summer, so they're very, very keen to get him. So they have a verbal agreement there with Freiburg. I'm also of the understanding that the player has agreed personal terms with Newcastle as well, but he's not signed the contract, and he will not be committing 100% until he leaves the World Cup, until Switzerland are eliminated from the World Cup. And of course, they're through to the last 8, aren't they? So Newcastle are going to have a nervy few days just waiting till that ends in the hope that he does sign. And then once they get him on a plane over here to sign the deal, only then will they be able to relax. Because I think they've had their fingers burned with the Victor Munoz deal, where they thought they had him, it was done, it was agreed, the player had agreed personal terms, and then Liverpool swooped at the last second to hijack the deal. They don't want that to happen with Manzambi either, so that is why they're moving forward with a degree of caution. But there is a verbal agreement in place for Manzambi. And irrespective as to whether Bruno Guimarães stays or goes, from what I'm hearing, there still will be looking for one other midfielder. So lots of good work going on. They are bringing...
But talking about one of the players who were expected at the World Cup, who had a fantastic season at his club, is Yande. And we have to take a minute about this, guys. We have to discuss about Yande. Big bomba, big update. Real Madrid are going all in for Yande. But what happened? Let's explain the situation and let you understand what's going on with Yande. At the beginning of the market, Liverpool were leading the race to sign Yande. they presented an official bid, 90 million euros plus 10 in advance to Red Bull Leipzig for the Ivorian winger. Then Red Bull Leipzig decided to reject the proposal, to say no to that amount of money, and the deal didn't advance between the two clubs. Also because on one side, Liverpool didn't have an agreement with Leipzig, on the other side, Yande indicated to Liverpool that he wanted to go to Paris Saint-Germain. This was around mid-June, so more than 1 month ago. During the time, Yande and his agents reached a broad agreement on personal terms with PSG. Nothing signed, nothing completed, also because you need club to club, of course, he's not a free agent, but a verbal agreement on contract terms. Salary, length of the contract, project. Yande several times said that his father was a Paris Saint-Germain fan, so a very good connection with the club. So Yande was ready to go to Paris Saint-Germain mid-June. What happened is that over the last 3-4 weeks, Paris Saint-Germain have been in contact with Red Bull Leipzig. They tried to close the deal with Leipzig, but there were 2 points, 2 issues. First issue, the price. Someone said that the deal can be closed at less than 100 million euros. Not true. Leipzig always wanted more. And then, so the first point was the price. No agreement, club to club, between Leipzig and Paris Saint-Germain on the price, despite several rounds of negotiations. And then, second topic, important, really important topic, it's about the situation of Yande in terms of agency, because there was some confusion for the switch of agency. He's now represented by Rock Nations Sport, but from his previous agency insisting on some private stuff he signed before joining Rock Nation, so there was some confusion around the player in terms of agency, and so this was also representing an issue. So several conversations took place. Paris Saint-Germain remain in talks now to find a solution for Yande, but then Real Madrid have entered the race very strong. Real Madrid are into this deal, and Real Madrid already presented an official bid to Red Bull Leipzig. But before explaining this, let me remind you, I came here on the channel, it was last Friday, 1 week ago, and I told you, watch out for Yande because some clubs have started calling for the Ivorian winger. Some clubs have started trying to understand if there is a chance to enter the deal because PSG are yet to close the move. The 3 clubs, trying to enter the deal were Arsenal, because Arsenal made some calls to understand the situation. Manchester City also made some calls to understand the situation. And then Real Madrid. Real Madrid have entered very strong. These 2 English clubs, Arsenal and Man City, were calling how is the situation, can we enter, how much is the price, what's going on with the agents. So just trying to understand the situation in general. And then Real Madrid, arriving very big, arriving very strong. Real Madrid said, okay, Paris Saint-Germain can't reach an agreement with the club, but have an agreement with the player. We go straight away to the club, Red Bull Leipzig, and before any approaches to the player, go all in with an official bid. Real Madrid sent a bid in paper to Red Bull Leipzig. 90 million euros plus 10, 100 million euros. It's not exactly the same as Liverpool, because the 10 million euros offered by Real Madrid as bonuses, as add-ons, are quite easy to reach. So almost 100 million euros fee on the table for Yande. Red Bull Leipzig, according to my information, said no. They want more than this to sell Yande. Ideally, around 120 million euros package, the deal could get done. Now, the conversation is with the first official bid rejected. Now it's on Real Madrid, but Real Madrid are absolutely in the race to try get the player and to try anticipate Paris Saint-Germain. So work in progress on this one. I will tell you more over the next hours, but Real Madrid are working on Yande, and that's a bomba for sure. Then guys, more to say. Just quickly, many questions today. Kerim Albeovich, Bosnian winger from Bayer Leverkusen. Some of you ask me if reports from Germany mentioning a 34 million pounds bid from Chelsea are accurate. My understanding is that Chelsea are not spending 34 million pounds. Chelsea are discussing with Bayer Leverkusen. Chelsea approached Bayer Leverkusen, but at the moment they are yet to agree personal terms and yet to agree on a fee with Leverkusen. They are talking, so there is a conversation and negotiation ongoing, but yet to agree on all terms of this deal. Chelsea are negotiating, Chelsea like Albeovich, but Chelsea are not spending 40 million euros on the boy. So, or the price remains around 25, 28 million euros, under 30 million euros, or Chelsea will not overpay. There are also Italian clubs involved, because Atalanta have been trying for weeks. More Italian clubs are involved in the race, and so it's also going to be on the player to decide. Xabi Alonso is a big fan of Albeovich, so Xabi Alonso is a factor here. Let's see what's going to happen, because for sure there is movement around Karim Albeovich. Again, Chelsea will not overpay, Italian clubs are there. What's the difference? Chelsea can offer something for, obviously, the future. So the idea of Chelsea is come in and then let's evaluate what's the best pathway for your future. Obviously, if he's joining an Italian club, is to be a crucial player immediately, a starting 11 player immediately, something that Chelsea now can't guarantee. So let's follow development, but also for Karim Albeovich, there is big movement ongoing. Guys, many big stories, many big news, more will follow in the next hours, so stay tuned here on the channel. Remember to like this video, to turn on the notification bell, to subscribe to the channel, and see you soon here with Fabrizio. Thank you.